Good afternoon, RGEA members and guests. Welcome to today's webinar, RGEA exclusive webinar, Banking with Civic. Our speakers for today are Sherry Bear, Chief Administrative Officer, and Jeff Hibbert, Senior Vice President of Digital Services at Civic. Tanika Floyd, Senior Vice President of Partnership and Engagement, is also on, and she will be helping with questions as you place those into our Q&A. I am your host, Daryl Davis Fulmer, and I want to thank Tracy Eubanks for her technical support today as well. Before we begin the webinar, I would like to go over a few items with you. Each of you has been muted to help ensure the presenter can be heard. The presentation is being recorded, and we will send you the link to the recording along with the PowerPoint in our follow-up email. For those of you who have sent questions, we have submitted them to our presenters, and many will be incorporated in the presentation today. If you think of a question during the presentation, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom page. I believe it is off to the right. The team will respond to questions as they come in and during our Q&A period. So, without further ado, let's get started. Here are our speakers for today, Sherry and Jeff. Take it away.
Thank you so much. It's great to have the opportunity to be here today. We really appreciate this. Our goal is always to make sure that we are informing our members, our potential members, that you have the correct information as you're making your banking decisions. We know that there is some disinformation out there that is causing some stress for some folks. So I really appreciate the questions that you sent ahead of time. We can certainly address these, and we want to make sure that we accomplish that over this period of time. So you see that LGFCU is becoming Civic, but what does that mean? Local Government Federal Credit Union was started back in 1983. And since that point, the members have always been serviced by state employees credit union delivery channels. Most everyone thinks of that branch network because it is a very large branch network throughout the state of North Carolina. Over the years, as LGFCU has grown, our members have continued to ask for more digital services. At our annual meetings, our members are asking for remote deposit capture, the ability to do more things via online and mobile. Over the years, we have also built out organization and business accounts and servicing those. State Employees Credit Union made a decision approximately 11 or 12 years ago to only serve consumers. We had a very large portfolio with our volunteer fire departments on the deposit side. Also, over the years, our federal regulators, the National Credit Union Administration, very similar to the FDIC for banks, it's the NCUA, have also been telling us you're getting too large not to have a contingency plan, not to put something in place if you need to be independent. So I want to build a little bit of this picture of how are we getting, just really explaining this particular slide right here. How are we getting from point A to point B, and why are we doing that? So in several years ago, we started LGFCU. When I say we started a second credit union, which was Civic Credit Union. We opened that in 2018. It was online, digital only, with a call center. At that point in time, we were not talking necessarily about merging the two credit unions. As members continued to request more digital services, we saw that it was time to merge the credit unions, which means, and what does that mean for you all as a banking consumer, is you would no longer use the delivery channels at State Employees Credit Union. So next weekend, the weekend of May 30th through June 2nd, we are actually merging our two credit unions, and we will no longer use the delivery channels at State Employees Credit Union. That means that branch network will no longer be available. So Civic has opened 11 branches. I believe we might have a slide for that one. I don't know who's controlling the slides though. There we go. Thank you so much. So Civic, since we announced our independence, and when we say independence, we mean that independent from using the State Employees Credit Union delivery channels. Last year, we opened 11 branches. We did have quite a few questions about the locations of these branches. These are the locations: Ahoskie, Asheville, Charlotte, Durham, Greensboro, Greenville, Hickory, Lumberton, Murphy, Raleigh, and Wilmington. And I know sometimes you're probably, well, not sometimes, but I know folks are questioning, well, how did you pick these locations? And we did use our data. We looked at, with minimizing a branch network, because we had no intention of creating a branch network like State Employees Credit Union. The business models are very different. But where could we put branches that would be within 35 miles of 80% of our membership? And these are the locations. These are full service branches. You can perform transactions there. You can also perform your transactions, most of them via self-service. And a little bit later in the presentation, Jeff is going to provide a lot more details of how you accomplish the self-service transaction ability via online mobile. But in these branches, you can perform transactions all the way from depositing cash, withdrawing cash, depositing a check. You can go in, apply for loans, open new deposit accounts. But we also designed these branches to be community centers. And by community, I mean the local government community. We have areas in these branches where we want our local government partners to use this meeting space, and the Retired Government Employees Association. If, for example, you have a group in Ahoskie and you want to have a meeting, you want to have some sort of session, you can request to use the space, and you can use that. You might walk into the branch and you see sofas in a particular area, which is convertible to meeting space. We can bring out chairs with little desktops. You have monitors available. So it becomes more of a community space and not just necessarily a transaction center. If we could go back to that map, I would appreciate it. Thank you. So when we look at the state of North Carolina, which is very large, we've said we have 11 Civic branches. We also have joined what is referred to as the Credit Union Shared Branch Network. Credit unions, very different from banks, are very supportive of one another. A lot of credit unions are small. You just don't see credit unions the size of a State Employees Credit Union. It's the second largest credit union in the country. That's not typical. Most credit unions are very small. They may have one branch, they may have two branches. Credit unions got together and created a company that could provide services to other credit unions. So if you join the network, you join the group, your members can use other credit union branches. And that's exactly what we've done to open up now further, that we're not building the brick and mortar and investing in that, but we have the ability for our members to use the brick and mortar of other credit unions. We have about 120 in the state of North Carolina. This is also available throughout the country. So throughout the country, there would be approximately 5,500 of these shared branch locations. And again, these are other credit unions that you can use to perform transactions. Now, when I say that, what does that mean? You cannot go in and request to open a new account. You cannot go in and ask for a loan. What you can go in and do is perform your regular transactions. And the majority of those will happen in the shared branches, with the exception you cannot make credit card payments nor mortgage loan payments in those branches. If you need to get an official check, you can do that in these branches. So this opens up now. If someone has the need to use a branch, we now have more locations that they can use. Cash deposits. That's always a question that we get. How do I make a cash deposit if I can't necessarily get to one of the 11 Civic branches? Or what if I'm in a community where there's not a shared branch? We have a solution that you can go into Walmart and deposit cash. We are not the first customer that Walmart is doing this for. Walmart performs these types of cash deposit transactions for numerous other financial institutions. So I know for our members, this is new, and it's a little bit scary to think you're going to walk up to the clerk at the counter and say, I want to deposit this $500. They've all been trained. They all know how to do this. So it will not be something that is unexpected for them. As far as other cash deposit solutions, we are actively working on solutions to include other merchants outside of Walmart, but that is not available today. Cash withdrawals, you continue to use the Cash Points network, surcharge free, meaning you are not charged a fee to make that withdrawal. If you are a current member of LGFCU, as of June 1st, you will not be able to deposit cash at the Cash Points machines or checks, but you can continue to withdraw with no fee. The shared branch network also has an quite extensive ATM network where you can use those with no fee. There are some within the network which you can deposit cash. But how do you find one of these places? We don't just advertise them individually. There's a locator service within our online and mobile, and you can also just look up co-op shared branches if, for example, you just don't have you don't want to log in to your account and look those up. We do refund ATM withdrawal fees up to $20 per month. So we've opened up a lot of solutions. So we try not to think in terms of losing 275 branches at State Employees Credit Union, but what are you gaining and what are you gaining access to? And also, by the credit union not investing in brick and mortar, we are investing more in our members with higher rates on deposit accounts, lower loan rates. I know we have a varied audience here, and I know everyone is not currently an LGFCU or Civic member. So I want to make sure that specifically for those LGFCU members, what is going to happen over the weekend when we leave the delivery channels of State Employees Credit Union? A lot of the questions that we get: direct deposit. In the case of retirees, what about my state retirement? What about my local government retirement check? What about my Social Security check? Those will all stay the same. You do not have to make any changes to those. Your account number stays the same. You do not have to, close accounts, reopen different accounts. They stay the same. Any other automated debits or credits that you have. So, for example, you have set up to have your light bill come out on the day that the payment is due. That will stay the same. You do not have to make any changes. So the two of the biggest changes are with debit and credit cards. Those account numbers are changing. If you have an LGFCU credit card, you have already received your new Civic credit card, and you are actively using that. Your LGFCU debit card you may have received your new Civic debit card. You can activate that now, but you cannot use that until May 30th. So the card numbers have changed. We like to make sure that members know if you have set up any of your bills using a debit card or credit card number, or you use a particular merchant, for example, Amazon, and you use your LGFCU card, you will need to go in and update the card number. So we're all used to getting new cards when the expiration date expires. We get a new expiration date, we get a new 3-digit code, but in this case, you do have to update the entire card number. So, checks, another question. And I think that was a question also we had gotten. If you have LGFCU checks, you continue to use those. Because like I said, your account number is not changing. The routing number for LGFCU is still the routing number for the credit union. So the most important information on that check that is pre-printed is at the bottom, which is the routing number and your account number. It doesn't matter about the brand that's on the check. So you can continue to use your LGFC checks. When you get ready to reorder checks, they will be Civic branded checks. That's another question that we get. What about my share term certificates? I'm in the middle of the term of the certificates. Those will come off of the SECU systems to the Civic systems with the same remaining term, the same rate. Everything will stay the same on those. Any types of loans that you may have, payment stays the same, the remaining term stays the same, the due date stays the same. You do not have to make any changes there. I did have a question about a 24/7, basically ability to contact someone 24/7. Yes, we do have that. We have a call center here in Raleigh that we are staffed locally, but they are not the ones that are on 24/7. We do use an outsourced call center. Again, this is through a credit union industry owned group. They are also specific to Civic. When we contracted with the company, we did not want them to answer the phone as one credit union and they're working with a member from one credit union on their products, their services, and then they answer for Civic and then they answer for another credit union. They are dedicated to Civic. They are also located within the United States and they are 24/7. Our board of directors for the credit union, we're very specific that we are high touch, high tech, not high tech, high touch. The high touch comes first. And we want to make sure that our members always have someone that they can speak to, whether it's one of our branches, whether you call in, you may like to do chat. Any number of us with different types of vendors that we use. Airlines, sometimes it's quick just to use their chat function. Same thing for us. It's easy to go online. You can see frequently asked questions. We actually have a chat bot whose name is Vic. For example, and this is probably the most asked question, is what is the routing number? And you can easily ask Vic the routing number in seconds. You have that routing number. The more convenient co-op locations, those are up to the credit unions that join that network. That does change. Credit unions that are part of the network that allow other credit unions members to use their branches, they do make money off of those transactions. So it's not free for our Civic members to use these other branch locations. But the convenience factor way out covers any type of expense on that. We consistently work with other credit unions in North Carolina to encourage them to become part of the network. So, to answer that question, we cannot control that because that is a business decision of those particular credit unions, but we do encourage them to be part of that network. Are we going to open other branches? there's quite a few questions about that. We know that you are accustomed to the SECU branches. There's 276 of them, I believe. So that's a lot of coverage over the state of North Carolina. The quick answer to that is no. However, I've learned to not make a blanket statement like that, because we we always could do something. We do not have a plan right now to open other branches. They're very expensive. And again, the business model is designed to be high self service and use a branch facility when you have a more complex need. You do need to go in to speak to someone, but you can always go into the branch to do transactions, to do anything that you need. But that's how it is designed, to be able to control operational overhead, to return that to the members by more robust products and services. Um, the mission statement of the credit union is to improve the lives of our members. And that's not just necessarily with the financial piece of this, with the loans and the deposit accounts and the cards to do transactions. We have we are very involved with our partners throughout the state, like this group. Um, very involved there. We know North Carolina is growing. It's one of the fastest growing states in the country, which means local government services have to grow. So more people need to come into this as a profession. And how can we be a part of that? Our scholarship program, with the fellows program we have at the School of Government, providing those scholarships to folks within local government to be able to enhance their skill set in the profession, come back and have that impact on their communities. So improve the lives of our members can happen by many different ways. I believe we had a question about a Christmas Club account. We do offer, it's not exactly the same with the one withdrawal period. We do have a savings product very similar to that, but it has two options on the withdrawal in March and October. So it does have a little bit more flexibility on when you might want to tie that savings product to when you need the money. I think we've touched on, will the merger affect existing mortgages and HELOCs? No, they remain the same. You do not make any changes to those. We certainly don't recommend any type of refinancing, because usually those have been out there for several years when we were in a lower rate environment, and we know that we've been in a higher rate environment. I do want to mention from the deposit side, Civic, on the share term certificate, we have it is compounded interest, so not just simple interest. Currently, the product at LGFCU is a simple interest share term certificate. Right now, we have a special rate on a 12 to 18 month share term certificate, which is 5.5%. That's, I have not looked today, but I typically try to look. That's the best in the country. And that is a great rate. So, how do you get it? So, if you are a current LGFCU or Civic member, then you can already get a share term certificate with that rate. If you have not joined the credit union, you can certainly do that. You can be this group, retirees or retiree of local government, through family members, by volunteering, parks, for example, parks and recreation or the libraries. But there's also an option where you can volunteer for Civic, which creates eligibility for you to join the credit union. So, what exactly does that mean? It is an online volunteering function. You go online, go to our website, click you want to join Civic in the top right corner. And when you look at the eligibility page, you select you want to volunteer for Civic. And you will get, I believe it's approximately 5 questions that are somewhat digitally related for behavior. Like, do you use online merchants such as Amazon. So you answer those questions, which means you have now volunteered for the credit union, because that information is very important to us as we learn about the behavior of our members. And that makes you eligible to join the credit union. So I know there was a question in here, if I'm a retired state employee, can I join Civic? So the answer is yes, you can. If you are not a family member, you have not volunteered, in this case, it does not sound like you'd be a retiree of local government, you can use this volunteer option to join. It's very simple to do that. If you get out online and you start to have questions about that, without logging in, because you're not a member at this point, we still have a chat function. You can also call. Someone can help you walk through that. You can go to one of our branches. Now, I want to make sure I do repeat this. You cannot go to a shared branch to do that. They cannot help you join our credit union. They are simply there to perform transactions. The other thing I wanted to say is we have had, of course, since 1983, a very long-term relationship with State Employees Credit Union. They have certainly been very supportive of us, and they have helped LGFCU grow to over 408,000 members. Been around, like I said, since 1983. They have helped us tremendously as we have been preparing over the last couple of years to make sure that this transition happens with as few issues as possible. Now, nothing's perfect, but we have gotten this probably as close to perfect as it can be. So we have prepared, we have done a lot of testing. SECU has been there every step of the way with us. But the fact is, the credit union, your credit union, does pay State Employees Credit Union quite a bit of money to provide services to our members. We pay them approximately $75 to $76 million per year. And that's for members to have access to their branches, to their employees. By not investing in that $76 million per year, we can invest in our members. We can control when our members ask for the products and the services that they want. State Employees Credit Union has been very good to us, but there are many, many things that our members have requested that we cannot do because they would have to decide to do that first. And that may not be a business decision that they want to make. So I want to make sure that we do cover how much the credit union does pay to SECU. Let me look to see if we've had a question. Okay, we haven't had an extra one yet. So I'm still referring to the questions that we had early on. And I know we've covered a lot of these. So, Jeff, I believe we might be at the point where we transition to you.
Perfect. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. So Sherry spent a little bit of time talking about sort of the big picture. We'll talk a little bit, just a few moments about, she covered some of the information on what it takes to join Civic. We'll touch on that, some highlights. We'll spend a few moments talking a little bit about kind of if you're an existing local government member and you make this transition with us, as you make this transition with us next weekend, what does that day one look like in the digital world for you? So when you come see us on that Tuesday, we'll give you a little sense of what to expect. And then we'll spend a few moments for those of you that may not be familiar with what you can do in our high touch model. We'll give you a flavor for, well, what does all that really mean? What does that look like? What are the things that we can perform? And I'll zero in on a couple of some of the more popular ones. Okay, so we talked about cash options. We touched on branches. These are kind of some of the areas that I'll touch on here. So joining Civic, how to do that. We'll talk about just briefly, accounts and loans, what can you do in the online world if you needed to open up an account or a loan? Again, how to use digital banking, how to get started, and then where to go for help. So we all have questions. We all have needs. Sometimes we run into challenges, and part of our job here today is make sure you know where you can turn to if you need assistance. So Sherry talked a little bit about who can join. And one of the most popular options is the Civic Volunteer. So simply to make that happen, you go to our website, you click join. And then one of the points I want to make on opening an account with Civic is it's incredibly simple and it's very fast. And the average time to open a checking account at Civic to get through the entire application process is somewhere in the range of 2 to 3 minutes. And you'll be able to fund that account immediately online, and then you're immediately available to access online and mobile banking. And we'll touch on that in just a few more minutes with a couple additional details. This slide and our website walks you through the eligibility criteria to join Civic for our local government community. And Sherry also mentioned the volunteer option, which is basically open to everyone. And again, it's just 5 simple questions we ask so we can understand, again, behaviors and then be able to use that data to better inform business decisions about the needs of our members and how we can enhance our services going forward. So in Civic, we give you more than one way to join the organization. So the most common way is to apply either online, come to our website, or you can actually apply from your phone. And it's that 2 to 3 minute process that we talked about. There's a small screenshot on this slide of what our website looks like today. We're actually featuring that 5.5% certificate of deposit, that shared term certificate that Sherry talked about. And we believe that's probably, if it's not the most competitive rate in the nation, it's certainly in the top 3. So you simply, if this is something that you wanted to take advantage of as a current local government member or a Civic member, or you wanted to join new, you could literally make that happen this afternoon, and we'd be happy to open that account for you. You can also call, text, or chat any one of our staff in the Experience Center, and you can mix and match these examples. So let's say I start out online in the high-tech world, and then I have a question. You simply need to contact us, call us, text us, chat. We can actually walk through that application with you while you're doing it online and then help you conclude that transaction and get that account open with you right on the phone, over the chat, or you can even do a video call in some cases. So simply, right there from the convenience of your home, convenience of your office, and we'll make all of that happen for you. You can do this in, of course, one of our branches. That's a standard account opening experience in any one of the 11 locations that Sherry mentioned. Again, this is not available for our co-op branches, but we'll be happy to help you with accounts and loans in any of our branches around the state. So deposit accounts, I want to touch on this for just a moment. One of the things that Sherry touched on at the beginning was the need to not only be a consumer-focused organization, but also focused on small business. And so we have obviously consumer accounts for retail customers or consumers, but also small businesses, because we know that many of our local government members also run small businesses. And so whether you have a construction business, maybe on the side, you have a small payroll for staff, you need to be able to run a small business as part of the way that you make a living and earn your income. We have what you need. And again, you can apply for those simply online. So as a small business owner, not only can you open and manage your accounts through the digital area in Civic, but you can all do this. You can also do this for small business yourself. One of the things I want to draw attention to on the slide is kind of the bottom left corner is Sherry talked about our community focus.
Jeff,
Yes.
we're losing you. Well, I don't know if anybody else is, but are you all hearing the breaks in this conversation?
This is
I
Tracy.
can't tell. You're
I
not?
pers-
Okay, it's coming.
I can hear Jeff okay.
Yeah, I can hear
Okay.
them fine as well.
Uh, okay. All right, good. Okay.
Okay, we'll
Go
keep going.
ahead. I'm sorry.
Something changes, just let
Okay.
me know.
Okay.
One of the things I want to touch on is we've got these examples of debit cards on this slide here in the bottom left corner. And whether you as a member of Civic can choose a standard debit card, but you can also choose debit cards where the credit union makes contributions to fire organizations, parks and recreation, and then EMS and rescue organizations. And so that is part of your online account opening experience. You can simply choose these debit card options. One of the benefits is as you use those cards, Civic makes donations to those groups on behalf of the business behalf of the transactions that you're making. And then we contribute those funds to those organizations to help further their cause and support their activities in our communities throughout the state. In the loan world, this will probably look very familiar to you. We have a full array of consumer and small business loans. And I won't cover all the details on the slide here, but any one of these products you can apply for online. And again, you can call us, and again, you can visit a branch. Okay, so now turning to what does this look like in the digital space here? Thinking about, how you manage your money in the digital world. So in this slide, we've got a link to some resources on our website, and we built a pretty wide array of how-to guides to make sure that for people that have questions in terms of how to use online or how to use mobile, that they have resources available on the website. But I'll spend a moment here talking there literally about this transition next weekend, and then what you can expect in the online world day one during this transition with the civic and local government community next weekend. When you come, so for existing local government members or you have accounts there that will convert over next weekend, on Tuesday, June 3rd, you'll be able to sign on to online and mobile. And then what you will see will be all of your accounts that were at local government will have converted over to civic systems at that point. And then if, for example, if you were using bill payment or you were sending bill payments through the digital banking experience there to places like Duke Energy or maybe Carolina, your utility bills, all of those places that you send payments to, and the payments will also convert. So when you sign on for the first time, you'll use your existing local government federal credit union user ID. You sign on to Civic. We will guide you through a password reset process. And then when you log on for the first time, you'll see all of your accounts. We'll talk about transaction history in a moment. So all your checking, savings, your loan accounts will all be there. Your balances will all be there. Transactions that you did over the weekend will be present. Your statements will be there. Your payees will be there. Your bill payments will be there. And then you're off and running in the civic world. And part of what we are committed to in this transition is that it's a smooth process. And we think it's going to be a great experience in the transition process next weekend. But if you have a question, we're here. So just give us a call, text, or chat, and then we'll be ready. Staff will be ready here in our call center and through partnerships at other call centers to answer those questions for you. I've given you some examples on this page of kind of what it looks like in the online world. And if you're not familiar with our online experience or our mobile experience, these are some screenshots of what those look like and what you can expect to see when you use digital banking at Civic. So what can you do? So just like you can do a lot of things in the branch, you can do a lot of things in the digital world. And our goal has always been and continues to be, because we're high tech and we're high touch, we want to be able to do anything that you need done in the online world. And so there are many, many, many things you can do. And we'll touch on a few here. I won't touch on them all, but I talked a moment ago about those guides that would be available on the website. And so I've given you the link on this slide, and that'll be sent out following the presentation today. But that link on the website gives you a pretty extensive list of all the capability that we have built in the online world to not only look at statements, you can look at accounts, look at transactions, but you can access your statement history for all of your products would be available to you there. Your transaction history for all of your accounts would be available to you. You'll be able to make payments, continue to make payments to the companies that you've made payments to while at local government, and those will all get transferred over to the Civic process. But we also have new services available in the digital world which were not available to you before. So, for example, one thing that our members have been asking for a long time is the ability to use a service to pay other people called Zelle. And many other financial institutions have this around the country. That service will be available to local government members day one following the transition weekend next weekend. So you'll be able to enroll yourself for Zelle and then participate in Zelle payments going forward. I'll spend a second talking about transaction history. So when we think about kind of what that experience is going to look like for transaction history on day one, Civic really leaned into the idea that we want this to be a smooth transition process for local government members when they come over during the Independence Weekend activity. And part of that process was we want to bring your transaction history with you and make that available at Civic and make that available to you when you sign on. As you can imagine, transaction history it's a lot of information across 400,000 plus members. And it's one of the largest pieces of the process that we have to manage over the Independence Weekend. So what you can expect day one is when you sign on is that you'll have access to 35 days worth of transaction history right there available in your account. And then over the next roughly 10 to 12 days, we will incrementally add transaction history each day until we get to the end of that process, and you'll have a full 2 years. Day one, you will always have access to your statement history. So if you need to look at a transaction, for example, in a checking account that was, let's say, 6 months ago, and we haven't quite gotten to that part of the process yet with transaction history that we're converting, you can look at that statement, and then in a few days, that transaction history will be there for you. A couple of the other key features, which I'll kind of touch on from this page, is the ability to deposit checks from your mobile device. So you don't need to drive to a branch, one of our branches. You don't necessarily need to drive to a co-op branch. Most members day one at transition will have the ability to deposit up to $10,000 taking pictures of your checks simply from your mobile device. It's this very simple two-step process. You're going to endorse the check on the back. You literally have to take 2 pictures. You send it to us, and then that check deposit processes. You hang on to that check for a couple of days for your records, and then you'll see the check and the funds show up in your account after a day or 2. So we think that's going to be a great win. And then added convenience of not having to drive to a facility to deposit checks. One of the others that I think is a key feature is the ability to manage your cards through Civic's online and mobile banking platform. And I think I've got actually a slide here that shows this in a little bit more detail. So we give you the ability at transition to manage your debit and credit cards through online and mobile banking. So what do I mean when I say that? So obviously you can see transaction history, and this slide shows an example of what this looks like. This happens to be my own individual account, so I just kind of grayed out the card number there. So if you just excuse me on that one, but you can see your card online. You can view your transactions. You can set up alerts and call what we call controls and alerts. So for example, that might be, hey, I want a message sent to my phone every time a transaction $50 or greater, is on my debit card or my credit card. Simple. You just set that up in the platform, and every time that happens, you'll get a text message confirming that. Another great feature about this, particularly in the credit card world, is, hey, I want to know when a payment posts to my credit card account. we've got an alert for that. It's right there in the platform, and you can set that up at your convenience. You can also request a replacement card through the process. So let's say your card was damaged, maybe you lost it, maybe it was stolen. We can manage that entire experience through what we call card controls. And it's right there, conveniently available at your fingertips on your phone, or you can go online. Or if you don't have your phone accessible and you need a little bit of assistance from us, feel free to give us a call. And that's one of the things that we can help you with. I talked about Zelle and a couple of other features that I want to key in on here. So this is an example of what Zelle looks like in the digital world. So this happens to be on my own account. I've got, I'm a parent with 4 children. Most of my Zelle is money leaving my account, going to my children. So that's why they're set up. That's why they're the most common list of folks in my Zelle account. You can see those there. But it's a simple process. And for most people, it's you simply type in the mobile phone number of the individual that you want to send a payment to. It shows up in Zelle. You put in the amount of money that you need to send off to that individual, and it's basically real time. They will have the money in seconds on their side, and you get all the confirming information in terms of that transaction. And then I've given you an example of what we've talked about for bill pay here. This just happens to be in my account. So if you're transitioning with local government, the payees and the payments that you have at local government today, these will transition in this process over the weekend, and these will show up on a screen that looks very similar to this. So a lot to cover in the digital world. So where do you start? So if you're not a member at Civic today, or maybe not even a member at local government, you can join today. So if you wanted to join immediately following the conclusion of this presentation, you could simply go to civicfcu.org. I pointed out right there on the screen that little join today, that join Civic button in the top right corner, or even the open today button, which happens to be related to the 5.5% CD promotion. And again, that process will take less than 5 minutes, and then you're off and running as a member. The last thing that I'll mention, I think, before we want to address some of the additional questions is, well, where do I go? I need some help. So, what does that look like? Where do I go to get that? And then how's that available to me? So we talked about chat. Our chat hours are there, basically 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard. You can email us. You can call us. And then we've got resources, in some cases available 24/7 to assist us in some special cases. You can also visit our website. And then we talked about locations. Hey, I need to find a Civic location to deposit some cash, or where is that branch? What's the address? You go to civicfcu.org/locations, and you can find all that information there. It's available at your fingertips. I think there were some additional questions that have come in during the presentation. I think, Sherry, you wanted to provide some answers to those.
So the questions that have been coming in, which are great, and thank you very much. Tanika has been providing answers to the majority of those. There are a couple of them that are a little more specific that we're working on getting some answers for. But I did have a couple of more items that I wanted to cover from the questions that had come in prior to this webinar today. And it's concerning if I am a state employee, if I'm a member of state employees credit union, am I using this new credit union? The answer is no. State employees credit union is a separate company. Their branches will open on Monday, June 2nd with business as usual. We do know that we have a lot of LGFCU members that are also members of SECU. So this is where it becomes just a little more complicated. Your SECU accounts will stay exactly the same. Your delivery channels will still remain State Employees Credit Union, but this changes for your LGFCU accounts. So wanted to make sure we do cover that. If you are a member of SECU, it is business as usual for you. There was a question about online banking upgrades. I'm just going to briefly start, and I'll flip that one over to Jeff. That is a fairly regular occurrence. Um, our online banking vendor that we work with is always enhancing the product, not only with functionality, but with security. So, Jeff, I know you can explain that much better than I can.
So we do these fairly regularly throughout the course of the year, and some of these things might be we're bringing a new capability, into the marketplace. So Sherry talked at the beginning about more ways to deposit cash. We've got we're working pretty hard on that. Hopefully have some new news to share here in a few weeks. I won't let the cat out of the bag. It's a major feature that we will launch. Those tend to happen maybe a handful of times during the course of the year. But what I can tell you is that in terms of upgrades, the smaller things happen throughout the course of the year, literally almost every week. So one that we launched, let's say maybe 6 or 8 weeks ago, was the ability for a member who has a share term certificate, a certificate of deposit, if they wanted to renew that certificate or they wanted to withdraw those funds and put them into one of their other accounts, that's something that can be done completely online. So smaller things like that, we tend to enhance throughout the year, and we'll make that information available to members in the organization. And the bigger things they're kind of fewer and far between, but we're constantly moving forward and making sure that the things that we're launching are the things that our members want and need.
Thank you, Jeff. Another one, is there another option other than Civic? There are always other options. Again, that is up to the consumer how they want to bank. Where there's not an option is your current LGFCU accounts will be Civic accounts during that weekend, May 31st, June 1st, 2nd. You can always close those accounts. We certainly hope that you don't. We encourage you to give this a try. Um, it is different. We acknowledge that. We also know consumers these days bank with multiple financial institutions. Gone is the day when we were all very loyal to one financial institution. We tend to bank at multiple places. The beauty of what Jeff has been talking about with online mobile is linking your what we refer to as external accounts. So let's say you have accounts at Coastal Credit Union or Bank of America. You can link those with your Civic accounts to be able to transfer money between those accounts. So it becomes a lot more convenient. You can do this over the weekend, so you're not forced to drive between multiple financial institutions to do this. So again, you are not forced to use Civic. I do encourage you to give it a try. I think there will be a lot of functionality. The rates, I think there'll be many things that you like, but we know this is a transition, but we're always here to help with that. And then the last one that I wanted to make sure that I believe was a little bit different from everything else we had covered is, can North Carolina state government retirees join? Hopefully you have heard that that answer is yes. If there was no other way for you to join, you do the volunteer option. So you volunteer for the credit union and you can join. There have been quite a few questions in here about savings, growing my money. And again, that 5.5 rate with that current share term certificate is a great way to grow your money. Those were the ones. Oh, this one wasn't interesting. Sorry about that. There's one more. What makes your company a better choice than the state employees credit union? We would not position ourselves to say we're better. We are different. We do believe that we can serve local government better than anyone, because that is who we serve. That is who we focus on, is working with our local government partners within the entire local government ecosystem, with the partnerships, for example, the city county managers partnership. We do a lot with them, with the mental health issues currently within local government. We touched on earlier about the space in our branches. We have had webinars that they have set up, they have run within one of our branches on mental health. Um, so, but State Employees Credit Union has some wonderful things. And again, it boils down to how you want to do your banking business. Is the pricing right for you? But again, you may choose to bank at both SECU and Civic, and that's certainly an option to you as a consumer. So, Jeff, Tanika, have we got some questions? It looks like you have answered a lot of them that have come in online.
Yes, and it does look like you have, and thank you all so very much. Tanika, it was great to have you to capture those and Jeff and Sherry on board to talk about this. I certainly have a better understanding of what Civic is all about and how to get involved, if I wanted to join, all of those things. And just so that you all know, we are capturing the Q&A just in case we missed anything, so we can pass that along to you as well. But I'm sure that the members who were on this call have a greater understanding. There was one question I think before we close out. We have about 4 minutes. I've got a little bit at the end to share with everyone. But there was one question: with how long is that rate going to last? If you can answer that.
I cannot answer that specifically
Okay.
as to a set date. Uh,
Okay.
we have to manage the business of the credit union.
Yeah.
And if there could be a point where we got in so many deposits that we would have to say, we have to stop this rate on this product. Right now, we do not have a set date to end that.
Okay.
So I would say if you're thinking about it, make your move. Don't wait way too long, but right now you have time to certainly take advantage of that rate.
All right. That sounds really good. So once again, thank you all so very much. This was quite helpful to all of us to have this greater understanding of what Civic is all about. And congratulations on your launch during May, I think from May 31st to June 2nd. And we hope everybody will go ahead and do what they need to do to get prepared for that, and that it will be quite successful. We are really excited about it. So I just need to remind everyone to not to forget the survey. We'll be sending to you later this week. It's quick and easy. We'll need our responses back by Tuesday. And before we leave, note that the next Lunch and Learn webinar will be held on Monday, June 2nd, which is different. We usually hold those on Wednesdays, but Monday, June 2nd at 12:30. And it is entitled Exclusive Webinar with Treasurer Briner, Pensions, Protection, and Public Trust. Please plan to attend, and you can register through May 29th. The link to join will be sent on May 30th. A day of webinar link will also be sent out as well, so you get another reminder to join the day of the webinar. Many of your questions will be addressed and responded to on that day. And as always, we strive to ensure that you are getting the most out of your membership and benefits with RGA. Thanks again for joining us today. Jeff, Tanika, or Sherry, do you have like a final, rah-rah statement or whatever you would like to say? We have about 2 minutes.
I'll start off just quickly. We really appreciate the time today. If there's something that you've heard from us that you have further questions about, you have contact information for us. We make sure we answer all questions. We will follow up with you. This is an exciting time. It is a change, and we know that. And we are here for all of our members to make sure that they get through the transition and are comfortable with how to do business with Civic. So thank you again.
Thank you so much. Jeff or Tanika?
I'd just say thank you for the opportunity to manage your business. And, I think, like Sherry mentioned, we'll do a great job in the transition. It is a change. And if you need us, we are here. don't be afraid to reach out if you've got a question or you got a need or you're not sure about something. We will get that question answered for you. And look forward to the honor and privilege of continuing to manage your business going forward.
Awesome. Tanika, did you unmute? Yes.
Uh, I would like to say thank you so much for having us. We've enjoyed presenting to you all. We expect this conversation to continue. I've shared my phone number and email address, and when you receive the presentation, feel free to reach out to any of us with your follow-up questions. I've tried to answer most of them, but we look forward to continuing the conversation. If you have a question, don't guess. Feel free to reach out to us. We're here for you.
Awesome. Thank you all so very much for offering this to our members, and we certainly appreciate you. And I'm going to say thank you all for joining. Have a wonderful Memorial Day holiday weekend. Stay safe. And you know that the organization RGEA stands ready to help you and assist you at any time. Thank you all so very much. Much success. Take care. Goodbye.